Hey, it's Jason. It's been 1 month with the new iPhone 16e, the newest member to join the growing iPhone 16 lineup, and essentially the successor to the sad and dated iPhone SE. It's kind of an oddly placed phone if you haven't noticed. On the one hand, this phone checks many of the boxes that most of us were asking for when it came to providing a more affordable iPhone that didn't overdo it with concessions. But on the other side of that coin, the decision on which phone to go with, be it the iPhone 16e, the regular 15, or the regular 16, is even muddier than before. So today, I want to go over how my personal experience has been with the 16e 1 month later, specifically talking about how it compares to the other models just mentioned, all in an effort to help you be as informed as possible about which iPhone is the best one for you. But before we jump into it, a real quick plug for the JSL newsletter. I send subscribers out a full res wallpaper every single week, as well as links to really good tech deals and fun articles written by yours truly. It's totally free. Link to subscribe will be in the description down below. Okay, first, let's talk about the physical design of the iPhone 16e 1 month later. This phone is essentially an iPhone 14 with some slight modifications. Now that might sound a lot more dated than it actually is, as Apple has been using this general form factor for quite some time now, even with its current lineup of new iPhones, so it doesn't seem like you're using a particularly dated design. And generally speaking, the 16e is a beautifully put together, as to be expected from any Apple device. 1 month later, I especially appreciate the back of this phone. It gives off such a clean aesthetic. The matte finish really makes this phone look and feel different from the older iPhone 14, and I think it was a really smart choice by Apple. Another design element that has stood out with the 16e over the past month is the frame. It's squared off against the front and back panel, so it is a bit more difficult to grip and not as comfortable to hold. The iPhone 15 and 16 made slight modification with their frames as a way to mitigate this, so they're a bit more robust and ever so slightly rounded off, making it more comfortable to hold, especially after extended periods of time. It doesn't really matter if you use a case though, which I'm gonna guess most of you do, so keep that in mind. Now, a design choice that has been a bit more annoying 1 month later is the fact that the iPhone 16e does not have MagSafe. I kind of forgot how much I actually use MagSafe for things like charging and accessories, and it's still kind of odd that Apple, out of all things, decided to take this feature out of the 16e. But again, many cases like the one I have here do come with MagSafe magnets, bringing back the capability, which is nice, so again, it's not the biggest deal. I would say the biggest design and ultimately feature concession that you have to deal with when going with the 16e is the lack of Dynamic Island. I feel like I just celebrated Apple finally sunsetting the notch on all of their phones, only to have it make a comeback, and in a way, it's made me realize how much I miss Dynamic Island. Yes, it does make viewing content a bit more pleasing as you got more screen to work with, but way more than that, because Apple has integrated so much of iOS with Dynamic Island, it's a noticeably more engaging user experience with it. It's probably the most noticeable upgrade Apple has brought to the iPhone in a long time, so its absence on the 16e has become more and more apparent. And generally speaking, from a design perspective, 1 month later, on the one hand, this phone is exponentially better than the previous iPhone SE. It's improved in almost every single way. But on the other side of that coin, the 16e is using a form factor that I feel a lot of people are just getting bored of because Apple has been reusing it for so long. It doesn't exactly draw a lot of excitement, even if it's a big upgrade from the past. But let's talk about how the performance has been with the iPhone 16e 1 month later. One of the most noteworthy characteristics of this phone is that it's rocking Apple's newest A18 chip, probably making this the most powerful phone in its price point by a considerable margin. And over the past month, when it comes to day-to-day activity, this phone has been smooth sailing as to be expected. Navigating around iOS is smooth and lag-free, with apps opening up quickly and being able to stay open in the background for extended periods of time without any jam-ups. I do love the addition of the action button on this phone. It's low-key a great feature to have, as Apple is expanding what you can do with this customizable button. Now, an area of performance that has been noticeably not as good over the past month has been the screen brightness. It has a peak brightness of 1200 nits, which isn't bad, but you can notice a difference when you hold it next to the iPhone 16 that has a peak brightness of 2000 nits outdoors. You'll probably only notice / care if you're literally holding these phones next to each other, and I don't want to give off the impression that the 16e's user experience is bad because of this, but it is something that I've noticed, especially as I've been comparing these two phones closely. On the other hand, something that the 16E has done surprisingly really well with in terms of performance, and arguably even better than the regular 16, is battery life. Apple's new C1 modem seems to be delivering on its promise of improved efficiency, as I've been able to get really good screen on time with this thing. If I start the day on a full charge, I won't have to re-up until late the next morning, even if I'm pushing the phone pretty hard. Now, it does suck that the 16E doesn't support fast wireless charging, as it does take forever to charge the phone on a wireless charger, but it does support 20-watt fast charging when wired in, which helps make up for the frustration. Now, another major selling point around this phone has been access to Apple Intelligence, probably the most surprising ad, as many thought Apple would gatekeep this feature to better differentiate it with its flagship lineup. And generally speaking, over the past month, having access to Apple Intelligence on the 16E has been a nice to have, is probably the best way I could put it. There's no performance differences or concessions that you have to deal with when accessing Apple Intelligence features with this phone. It's just that Apple Intelligence is kind of a nothing burger right now. I'd be hard pressed to say that any of the features so far are game-changing or essential to the user experience, and I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of folks who have access to Apple's AI suite actually never uses it. So it's not the biggest deal out of the gate, but I do appreciate that the 16E is future-proof to get what we can only hope are much improved Apple Intelligence features that are coming down the pipe. Okay, the last component of the iPhone 16E that I want to talk about after using it for the past month is the camera performance. Notably, this iPhone only has two cameras, one on the back and one on the front, and the performance so far has been pretty great. The updated 48 megapixel sensor with the lossless 2x zoom really does make it feel like you have a dual camera setup on the back, and the image quality is near identical with what's coming out of the more expensive flagship iPhone 16. The pictures are consistently high quality with punchy, accurate colors and solid dynamic range. You don't get the latest photographic styles, which is a bummer if you like that more stylized look, but the standard picture profile on the 16E's camera is pretty solid. Selfies also come out great as the images are sharp and natural looking and not over-processed. If you do happen to take a lot of photos at night, the 16E may not be the best choice as it doesn't have sensor shift stabilization. It does have night mode, however, so it's not a complete wash with low light photos. When it comes to video, it is encouraging to see that the 16E can shoot the same high quality 4K video that iPhone lovers have grown accustomed to. I've said this before, but the only thing I'm bummed about with the video shooting capability on this phone is the lack of cinematic mode. It's a feature that I use quite often, but again, it may not be a big deal to you. Aside from that, there's really not much I can complain about, as this phone's video quality is better than what any non-iPhone can bring to the table at this moment, and that's pretty impressive given the phone's price point. Which brings me to my overall thoughts on the iPhone 16E 1 month later. I have to be completely honest, this phone has really grown on me during this time. With all the features that it has, it's hard to argue against the notion that this is the best value iPhone that you can get right now. I just did a long-term 6-month later review of the regular 16, and I feel as though I would recommend the 16E over that phone for most people. To me, the 16E has all the core features that matter to most users in a package that's very similar, all at a $200 discount. Now, I still think that the $599 price tag is annoying. I wish it could have been $100 cheaper, but if you're dead set on choosing between the iPhone 16, the iPhone 15, or the 16E, I'd say that the 16E is the clear value choice to go with. But hey, that's just me, and I want to know what you guys think. Which phone would you guys go with? The iPhone 16E, the iPhone 15, or the regular iPhone 16? Curious to get your thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. And in case you guys missed the long-term reviews of the iPhone 15 and 16, check them out here. You're not going to want to miss them.